Alrighty. To the people who don't know, who are we joined with?
Donovan Fawcett, Managing Director, SEO Dons, Ltd.
LTD.
And yourself?
Alex, newly appointed Sales Director as well.
Newly appointed.
Newly appointed?
Yeah, not done too bad.
No. I don't think I have.
It was interesting how that came about.
Yeah, it was. It was.
I mean, talk about what you did before.
Yeah, I mean, I was at eToto Media before, so it was. I was with them for about 2.5 years. So like when I first joined, this was funny actually because when I dropped out of uni, it was very much like I got funneled into uni from, that sort of when you're at college, all of your tutors you either go to uni or you're a disgrace to the earth. That's basically what it was like.
Yeah.
It was like looking back on it. I remember being in form, like the form is like that one block that you have at the end of the day, where you you sign out or whatever it is. And yeah, the form tutor was like, Alex, have you applied to uni? And I was like, no. And she looked at me like I was like, some sort of like alien. She was like, the deadline's Friday. And I was like, all right. She was like, you have to apply now. So I'd turn around on my chair, go to the computer, which is like Unifrog. So that was the platform that you use to apply. And I was like, what do I like? I was studying sports science, which was something which I was quite interested in. I was doing some creative subjects and I was studying like sociology as well, which I didn't really enjoy that much. But then I was like, sports science, I quite like that. So I applied for loads of unis. And then a couple months later, I get an email from University of Bath. I won't say Bath because it's too formal. University of Bath.
Bath.
Yeah, Bath. And I was like, oh, like, I showed like my family and they were like, oh my God, like proper prestigious uni. I had no idea. I don't even remember applying for it. And I was like, oh great. Like I was actually pretty happy, because it was quite a big thing. So then I accepted it, did a couple years there. It was a 3-year course. So I did it was a 3-year course or a 4-year with a placement. That's what it was in industry. So you spend a year in industry applying yourself and then you do one last year before you graduate. I remember being 2 years in, sort of looking back on the last 2 years being like, I've just done nothing. Like first year was very much like, piss up, you have fun with people. I always felt a little bit out of place. You know me, I'm not like a massive like drinker. I don't really like partying that much. And everyone around me, that's sort of like what they were doing, which is fine. Like I met some really, really great people at uni who are still some of my close mates, but I think it wasn't an environment for me. And at the same time, there wasn't a massive sort of like future or career for me in sports science.
So why did you get into sales?
Well, I mean, it was very much like when I dropped out, I saw Keelan on Instagram. I quite liked the way that he spoke. He was very articulate. And you know him well. He's very good at what he does.
Yeah, probably the best salesman I've ever met.
Agreed. I'd agree with that. And I remember like replying to him on one of his Instagram stories, being like, I was very like encapsulated by the way in which he spoke, the way in which he was able to articulate what he was saying and his thoughts into speech. And I was like, how do you do it? And he was like, I've never been asked that. It's a very interesting question. And he started going into it. We started getting closer. Realised I met up with him in person. We had a pint. Realised that he was in real estate, working with some pretty big investors, and I was like mind blown. I've come from uni where I was about to go on a placement and work for free for a year to speaking with some guy who was working with investors doing like multi-millionaires who were looking at investing in London real estate. I was like, I need to do what you're doing. And then I, for 6 months, was working alongside Keelan. Meanwhile, he was at his agency, eToto Media, working with renewables installers. And we were doing this on the side. So I was going into the office, working on the real estate stuff, and he was cracking on with renewables, and every time we had the chance to work together, we would. And then it got 6 months down the line, and I was like, look, like, I want a bigger part of this. Like, can I come in and sell for you? And he was like, messaged his business partner, Jordan, and was like, you got the role. I was like, sweet, happy days. So I come into the office, no sales experience, no idea what I'm doing, go into the office, and I just had to pick up the phone and call people. That was all that I was like doing. I had no sales experience. I was really scared to pick up the phone.
How long did it take? First phone call?
First phone call. Like I made my first phone call quite quickly, probably same day, because Keelan wouldn't let me not do that. You have to understand as well. He brought me in So I'd look like a mug if I looked like, I wasn't doing anything.
Yeah.
So, and there was other sales guys there too. So like, I was picking up the phone and I was doing it, but I'd actually spend a fair bit of time working from home because then no one can see me call. So I'd call in my
Hide
room,
away,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? So then, because I'd get better at home, so that when I come to the office, I'm a bit better in terms of the way I speak. And that was what did it for me. And I'm still like that to this day. Like, I'm not a massive fan of like calling in front of people, sitting meetings in front of people. I like to be in my own space when I work. But anyway, yeah, after 3 months of working for free, basically, I closed my first solar installer. It was a guy called Ian from Radiance Solar. And put it this way, he didn't have the best sales infrastructure. It wasn't the best contract, but the guys ended up refunding him actually. But the guys sold him because it was like, this is a great thing for Alex. He's booked us a call. We're going to do the best for him. And that was great for me because I got on salary. And although it wasn't the most fruitful contract, there was no hard feelings with the client, but it was my sort of, entry into that sales position. And then I started calling more. We started running ads.
What do you think changed? First 3 months, struggling, then first sale. What changed between then? Was it confidence? Was it just reps?
It was just reps. When it's the same with Lee, who we've just taken on board, and it's funny now that he's come on board because he was in the exact same position I was in. It's just volume. That's all it is. Because at the end of the day, you need to get comfortable speaking with people. When you come across like a robot and you're following a script, you're not actually putting yourself in the shoes of who you're speaking to and trying to help them. You know what I mean? If I speak to someone and they don't need my service, I won't sell it to them.
Yeah.
At all, because that's why salespeople get a bad rep, because a lot of people look at sales reps and they're like, oh, you're selling stuff to people that they don't need it. That's not the case. You know what I mean? Well, a good sales rep wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
But what changed was just volume, being more confident on the phones, making more phone calls, and actually realizing that these people aren't going to remember who you are tomorrow, next week. So all of those sort of fears and the nerves associated with cold calling, you just had to frame them differently and do whatever you could to make sure that your hand picked up the phone and you ended up dialing. And that was all that it was.
How long did it take to start closing?
Closing, that's a good question. So from calling to actually sitting on my own meetings, this was actually interesting because there was another 2 sales guys, a guy called Lucian, a guy called Eli, lovely people, still good friends with them to this day. And it was very much like a race of I wonder who can, sort of get on a call and do the full process. But Keelan and Jordan, they were training me up on, how I can structure calls, how I can actually sort of walk someone through that process to the point where, cool, we can solve your problem. These are the next steps. Let's get you onboarded, sort of thing. It took me from January 2024 to when I first started closing, I'd say a year and a half. A year and a half. So it was around, actually, maybe a bit less than that. It may have been about a year. So sort of January, February time in 2025 was when I was sitting more sales calls. Sat on a call with the first one that I actually believe I onboarded myself was a company called Hunt Energy. Great guys. I had a great relationship with the guy that I called. I'd had a few phone calls with him. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to jump on a call with him and I'm going to show him what we do. And I'm going to show him how we can help him. And I'm not going to rely on sort of Keelan or Jordan, who do a great job, but I'm going to take this one for myself. And then I closed him. And it was like the best feeling ever because I was like, oh my God, I've just done the full thing. And that opened up a massive thing for me because I was like, I've been appointment setting for so long. And
what would you say was harder, the appointment setting or the actual closing the deal? Because I think the closing's the easy part. I think getting people interested and actually getting that appointment in, I'd say it's probably the hardest part.
I would actually agree with you there, especially for cold calling, because the thing is when you're setting appointments, you always want to be booking. You want to leave the day knowing, I booked X amount of appointments today. But when you get good and when you understand how to speak to people and what makes a good client and, understanding when you can truly help someone, a lot of the meetings that I was booking at the start, I would have qualified out as someone who wasn't suited for my service and wasn't going to be a client, suited for us. So then, in a way, although I probably could have booked meetings at the end, I was using my experience to actually be like, no, these guys aren't going to they're not going to be sort of compatible with our service. Yeah. So then, when you do book meetings and they're properly qualified as someone who you want to work with, then the close is a bit easier.
Yeah.
So I'd say the close is probably easier.
And obviously you sell SEO now,
Yes.
sales director. When
SEO Don.
When did you first hear about SEO? What was your experience with ads? Was it like a shiny new thing? Was it like, how does this work? How did you feel about it?
You know what it was? Because obviously when I moved on to commission only in August last year, it was very much like, okay, cool. So we work in the same industry, sort of sister companies. You know, we sell ads, you sell SEO. It's quite a good like sort of mix. And I didn't really know much about SEO, and I feel like a lot of people still don't. And what you said earlier is true, like it's a bit of a buzzword. So then when I sat down with you more and you started breaking it down into English, it was very much like a learning phase of me speaking to people and seeing how they respond to it. And it was very interesting because a lot of people have had experience with website inquiries. They love them. And I'm going to be honest, it's so easy to sell SEO because people love website inquiries and it works.
I remember
So, like,
I think it was December you sold 3. Yeah. So I think we got introduced in November properly through Keelan.
Yeah.
And the plan was you do a bit of upsell, you do a bit of this. And I was like, I ran an instantly campaign with Keelan's help.
Yeah.
Generated a bunch of appointments. I was like, hang on a minute, I'm probably not going to be able to close all these. I was like, Keelan, can you close them? And he all like helped me close them. And I didn't think he really wanted to do that. So he was like, Alex, sort of go there, Don will pay your com, we'll do this. Closed 3 in the first month, and then 4 months later, 20 odd.
Yeah, there's a lot on the books now.
I remember especially when those clients started performing, I really saw a change in you where you were just all in.
The thing is it was actually nuts to me because when I sold those clients, it was very much like, okay, let's see what happens now. I was always confident from the previous results, but I was like, okay, let's see what happens now.
Yeah, it's your deal now.
Yeah, 100%.
It's your reputation.
Is my reputation. I've sold them on something. Let's see if, let's see if you can deliver, but let's see if what I've sold them is lived up to. And who was the first one that I actually closed? Was it Midland Solar?
Midland was first with direct debit. Midland, Solar UK and Years were all within the same week.
In the same month, yeah. And Midland was quick. Like, you built the site, and then we went live, and I'm pretty sure the lead started coming. Yeah, Solar UK.
15 days.
Solar UK was quick.
Yeah, Hertfordshire ranked number 1 in 15
16 days. Yeah, I
16. That
16
was it.
days. Yeah. That was crazy because they were quick campaigns, and in my head, SEO was a long-term play. It was a long-term game. So when I was actually looking at the results, I was like, hang on a minute. Midland have got how many inquiries? It's like,
and you saw the inquiries as well.
Yeah, and I saw the quality because obviously I have Formspree, so I see the actual people filling out the forms on the site. I was looking at it, I was like, hang on a minute. This guy's he's gone from the Eco 4 sort of game, getting like nothing, and now within a very short period of time in the grand scheme of things for an SEO campaign, let alone any form of paid marketing, he's getting 15 inquiries, 20 inquiries a week. Like, this is unreal. Like, this is crazy. And then the same for Solar UK. Like, because you'd sit the catch-up calls, and I wouldn't sit on them too much. You come off the call and you'd be like, you know, Ryan has just had this like 5-bed HMO lead come in, and he's just closed every single one of them.
It's 5 different houses.
5 different houses. I was like, and all that it was doing was like, it really clicked with me. I was like, I've not seen service delivery like this. I've not seen the ability to actually sort of jump in, doing like, and in such a quick time frame. I think that was one of the biggest things for me.
I think when I realised
time frame.
You were so interested, I think off the cuff I was like, yeah, I give you equity, and you're like,
yeah.
What, really? Yeah. It's like, I was like 20 deals.
Yeah.
And then probably within about 2 months from me saying that, you hit that bang on. And then it was like, right, what are we going to do now? How's he going to transition over? What's the relationship going to be like? How do we avoid any sort of problems?
Yeah.
How was it transitioning over, stepping in as sales director?
At the end of the day, like, the guys that I was with at eToto, like, they were like, you know, my family, and they still are. So it was very much a case of like, when I came to them with that opportunity, I remember speaking to Keelan about it. The first thing he said was like, mate, I'm happy for you. This is a great opportunity. So then it was a case of, okay, well, that's made me a lot less stressed out because there's a great opportunity here. They want what's best for me. Perfect. And then it was literally a case of like, obviously structuring the offboarding, which yes, it was stressful, you know, and I think it did get a little bit personal here and there. But of course it would be, because I'm very good friends with them, and we've gone through so much shit together. You know what I mean? And this is why I really like the fact that we're still as close with them as we are. You know, whenever we look at, you know, an advertising agency, they're the one who we go to.
Yeah.
You know, whenever they look at an SEO agency, we're the ones they go to. I mean, you're still in the office with them like all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I've just spent 2 months down there
Yeah,
every
exactly.
day in the office.
So I think in terms of like how was the transition, I think it was better than I thought it would be.
What about the responsibility? Sales director, employees underneath you, training, KPIs.
It's new.
Alex, what's he doing? Why is he not performing?
Yeah.
Alex, have you spoken to him?
Yeah, it was new, and it still is new. I mean, I've never had to manage employees before. Obviously, the good thing about managing like Tyler, who's the sales rep who we got on board, same with Lee, and obviously Andrew when he was more of a sales sort of facing role, is I've been in the same position as they were. So training them feels like, okay, all I need to do is tell them what I did. And that's a little bit easier than, you know, I suppose like becoming like a manager and I have to learn all these managerial and training skills. I have no interest in doing that. Like, we're all young, entrepreneurial minded. I see all of you as my close mates. So when someone's doing something wrong, I say, mate, try this instead. Same with Lee when he's calling, try saying this instead, because I'm not going to lie. If you say that to someone, they're going to put the phone down on you. You know what I mean? And it's like all of that sort of stuff. It comes second nature because I've been through it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think it's hard as well when you've been doing something for a long time to teach someone. You have to watch them make mistakes and figure it out for themselves. Like you said, you could sit down and make them read off an entire script word for word, and it's just not going to work.
Exactly.
People need to put the reps in. But yeah, I think you've stepped into it well.
Yeah, I plan on continuing. I had to put on my marketing hat the last month though.
Yeah.
A lot of ads have been filmed. A lot of learning how to actually run ads, funnels, CRM integrations. Andrew's helped a lot with the CRM side of things, but I've had to put my marketing hat on. Never filmed ads before. YouTube videos as well, getting those
You've
up.
done about 6 days worth of filming, haven't you? Not including YouTube videos.
Not including the planning for all of that either, mate.
Yeah.
Like, it's been, like I say, last month, yes, it was a bit slow in terms of new business, but it's about setting up the foundation so that, because as well, it was also the fact that last month was fulfillment. I was literally about to say, it was actually scaling the team up so we can keep the service delivery 100%. And then obviously now we've got the foundations, and we're going to go live with a lot of ads today. Like after this, I'm going to get them live with Andrew. So it's literally a case of, like, it's all foundations, and now it's back on the sort of gas, really. Isn't it?
Back on the grind, growing off.
100%. I think recently we've started pushing videography massively with our clients, because obviously a lot of people use them for ads, right? But when you actually think about like the SEO, if someone's landing on your site, like, you know how strong it is. So like,
the conversion from visitor to lead is up by about 30% video content. The conversion from lead to sale is stupidly higher video content. Because even with an SEO lead, you've got someone that goes onto Google, goes onto a web page, maybe clicks through 3 or 4 different relevant blogs. Maybe they land on a location page, solar panels Canterbury, and then they go on the blog, how much do solar panels cost? You know, what are the limitations in Canterbury? Where are the areas where there's sort of you need approval to put panels on? And so when you've got someone that's spending time looking through it, and then there's video content alongside it, and especially sort of localized video content, if you get someone where they're down the street and you've done a video in their village, and let's say it's 400 people, and the average home value is 1.5 million, they know what every other home looks like in that area.
Yeah.
So if they're going onto that location, they then see a video in that location install being done.
Especially if it's like same product. Like, you know what I mean? If it's like a local install and they've got the same sort of SIG energy system getting installed.
Well, you'd be surprised as well. Like, areas like that is like keeping up with the Joneses.
Yeah.
You know, if someone's got a fancy new solar system with a big SIG stack in front of the pot, it's we just the electrofusion one where it was 3 houses who all opted for different systems.
Well, when Karen did.
Yeah, and they were all neighbours, and you know, it was all like sort of the whole street did it together.
Yeah.
So it is an interesting one, I think, especially for the higher end systems. I think when you deal with sort of the higher value projects, you're dealing with business owners and people who are very sort of numbers orientated. So for them, paying an extra grand, 1,500 over quote for other people isn't that much of an issue. They would rather pay for someone local that they like, where price isn't an issue. Whereas if you go for mass market and for the larger cities or the more deprived areas, it's going to be a lot more negotiating, a lot more. So, like I said, when we sit down with clients, the onboarding is always, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go?
Yeah.
What products do you want to do? Do you want to, do you do any commercial? What content do you have around that? Because this is it as well. It's getting way more competitive. There's so many people are jumping into solar, and especially commercial. Everyone and their dog wants to do commercial. But if you've never done a system like that and you have no video content, then why would they choose you over the?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
This is the thing, like, because as well, there's a lot of not just installers, but there's a lot of consultancies. You know, you might actually look up something online and land on a website, and the whole purpose of that website is to then capture your details and obviously sell it off to multiple people.
Yeah.
And the thing is like, when you don't have that video content there, it just kind of, I don't know, it just doesn't seem as sort of reliable, you know, it seems as sort of trustworthy.
It removes the personal. We were at KMN with Kieran, and he was talking about he tracks people that watch his videos, and then he'll show up on site and ask him, "Have you seen the videos?" No. Meanwhile, he knows they've spent 3 hours watching all of his videos.
But they don't want to say it because they're like, they don't want to almost like show their interest.
Yeah, they want to leave a bit of room for negotiation.
Yeah, 100%. They don't want to show that they're
no,
as
I haven't
seen
them.
possible.
Meanwhile, can you have a look at your place?
You were saying about Solent, weren't you? Like, you've got like one-man bands, but then you've also got like Checker Trade Sustainability champions.
Yeah, or commercial installers doing multiple millions a month. But like I said, I think the difference between the smaller firms and the larger firms is just the systems and processes and the budget allocation too.
It's also the mindset, because at the end of the day, like, you know, you get some people who want to build a business as like a lifestyle business, and obviously we're in a high-ticket industry, so that's a good opportunity for these people to get into. And you know,
sell 4 solar systems a month, you 10 grand a month after everything before your VAT return even.
Yeah, 100%. So like, you got some people who are doing it for lifestyle, and I get this when I sit down with people as well, because one of the first things I ask is like, what do you actually want to do? Because I sat with a gentleman yesterday who I've been speaking with for quite a while now. And like, one of the first things I asked him was like, what do you actually want from your business? Because he was only doing like 4 installs a month. And the thing is he's spoken with like a lot of different agencies. And I'm not going to lie, like, if you're spending 5-6K a month on ads or anything, even SEO at that point, it's like, you know, you can do a lot for free to get to 8 installs a month so that you have more behind you to then invest. Because I was actually saying to him, I was like, look, if you're making 2K per job, and he was like, oh, even that's a little bit tight now. So we actually figured out he was making maybe £1,000 to 1,500 quid.
And then there's like, some installers are making 4 grand net on a small domestic job.
But even having said that, like, let's say he's making 8 grand a month profit, and then 6K of that goes into ads, and he doesn't have the sales infrastructure to convert. He doesn't have the actual systems in place to make it profitable. It's just, you know what I mean? He's going to be driving himself into the ground. And I said, what do you want for the business? And he said, well, it's a lifestyle business. I said, okay, well, just do as much as you can organically. And when you're doing 8 installs a month, you know, get to 2 installs a week, and then maybe look at scaling and advertising. But I feel like there's such a like facade nowadays on like social media, sure, but then a lot of installers who, they seem to be everywhere doing a load of advertising. And it's kind of like the FOMO, like fear of missing out type thing. Like, you feel like you should be doing more, and it's like, you know what, if you've got a lifestyle business and you're happy doing a good job for people, doing a couple installs a week or a month even, there's nothing wrong with that.
But they say that though, and then you go into like the solar and battery Facebook group, and someone asks for a quote, and there's 70 installers in the comments offering to do a quote for them, and that'll be their form of marketing. You know, when you're going out there and trying to source deals and on public forums and competing against every Tom, Dick and Harry, it's a lot different than people coming to you. Which is why we sit there and go for the organic, the systems that the website can put in place in terms of your conversions, especially with video content. I would recommend people do video content before SEO, so that's in place. Yeah. And then obviously intertwined with the SEO strategy. If you rank number 1 on Google for an area, your YouTube video is probably going to rank number 1 as well. And so they obviously feed into each other. Yeah,
I mean, this is actually something I wanted to ask you. Is like, you know, you've been doing SEO for a long time. So why do you think that people are able to convert those sort of website leads better than like advertising leads, or maybe buying a lead or something like this?
It's the intent and the time spent. If someone goes on Facebook and clicks on a renewable energy page, they'll be enrolled into an ad to be shown about solar. Where if someone goes out their way and types in, I don't know, solar panels Manchester, or solar panel installers Manchester, or how much the solar panels cost in Manchester, and they're then clicking on a website and all the information's there, they spend time on it, there's a video of the business owner talking about it. The intent of that lead, they have just spent, you know, 20 minutes on that website average, going through everything, informing themselves, watching the videos. And if someone sat there and watched 10, 20 minutes of you talking, and then you're on the phone with them, and then you're in their house, that sort of personal connection's already built up, and how warm that lead is a lot different versus someone going on Facebook, getting a flashy ad and leaving their details. Is a hell of a lot different than someone going out of the way to come find you.
Yeah, 100%. And like, that was kind of what happened with Andy, wasn't it? Like, do you remember when he was like, oh, you know, we spoke to this guy and he was actually going with a cheaper quote, and then he came back afterwards and was like,
It was
oh,
a
we watched
grand
a
over.
YouTube video.
It was a grand over every other quote. And
Yeah, it was,
the
and then
guy
he said he
came back,
came
he
back.
said it's too expensive, and then a week later, I've watched all your videos, I want you to do it. I don't care about the price.
100%.
I'm sorry,
I mean,
Andy.
it must be quite nice having that, you know what I mean? But again, like, it's just trust signals.
Yeah,
like,
and
you
it's
know what
not
I mean?
hard
it's
to do.
people spending time with you, you know,
Yeah.
consuming your content. Yeah,
And it's
I mean,
personable as well. Like I say,
Yeah.
it's like having a relationship built before you get there.
Yeah.
Which I think for some installers, they'd find that a bit strange. Oh, I've seen you on the video, you know, they don't like it. But if you can get comfortable putting yourself out there and getting people used to you, then that's, you know what I mean, it makes a massive
Yeah.
difference.
I mean, what would you say to people as well? Because like most installers that I speak to, right, they can recollect and cast their mind back to when they had a lead through the website, and they're usually like, yeah, they're great. Everyone prioritizes those leads, but I think when you talk to people about how they could be getting loads more of them, like Midland, 20 inquiries a week, Andy, you know, like he just gets stupid amounts. But then you talk to installers about that, and they're like, they get maybe the odd one here and there. So like, what would you say to people who are like, you know, they just don't see themselves getting that many. They just think it's out of the realm of possibility.
A lot of these people have worked with sort of cheaper SEO agencies. So there's so many marketing agencies out there that will do it for this much or do it for this much. So the amount of times we speak to people and they say they've been burned or they worked with someone and they paid this amount of money over this. Because usually what a lot of your SEO agencies do, they'll be, especially your generalist ones, 500 to £1,000 a month, they'll 12-month contract, do maybe a little bit in the first month and then just leave it on the back burner. And there's so many freelancers and people in between who do any client that can get any sector, that don't have any sector knowledge, that don't know what DNO is, that don't know what G99 is, that don't know the differences in roof types, or things that we learn just speaking to installers. I won't say we're experts, but it's just being able to know that knowledge and to sort of replicate the same systems across different client sites. Whereas if you're a generalist SEO and you've got 20 clients all in their own sectors, you're not going to have enough time, data or knowledge in front of you to understand how that sector works. So if I know I can build one site and I know a certain blog keyword does well, at the moment that's Give Energy because they've just gone bust. So a lot of the replacement systems, there's a huge amount of traffic of people looking for that. You know, that's a good way to capture traffic. If I know EV chargers are a nice little diary filler because solar and battery is more competitive and it takes more time, I can implement that. But a generalist SEO agency isn't going to know these things because they don't have that data in front of them.
The other thing as well, which I always see, is you've got, obviously we'll talk about backlinks because it sounds like some technical word that, you know, not a lot of people would know about. But as a generalist SEO agency, where they don't have experience in the industry for one thing, but at the same time they don't have backlinks, they don't have a network that's existing. So what they usually do is obviously they'll spend 6 to 12 months learning about the industry, buying backlinks, which means your SEO is expensive,
Buying
but you're not
irrelevant
getting a lot
backlinks.
from it. Yeah, so like talk about that because I think that's
So
massively
there's
useful.
the way I would explain backlinks is if you've got 100 websites all trying to rank for Solar Panels Manchester, how does Google decide which one's number one? Now, we live in a time of AI where most people can build a website, most people can get the on-page right and the technical right, and everything's perfect. So you have 100 websites, they're all perfect, right amount of text, right amount of supporting content. The only way that Google's algorithm knows who to rank higher is what's linking at that. So if you have 20 backlinks from other solar installers in the country, that's a really relevant link contextually for domain authority and for trust as well. And so that will help it rank. If you have one from a BBC article, from a press release you did about a charity commercial job, that's a massive trust signal. So it's really broken down into different stages of how the algorithm works. But I would say nowadays about 80% is on your backlinks. So if you have access to, I don't know, 130 different solar domains where you can link to clients or you can link in specific industries, it's going to be a lot different than someone that's going to some freelancers, doing a bit of outreach. You know, maybe they get a blog from a local newspaper and call it a day. Because especially at 500 to £1,000 a month, when I was buying links before we had the assets and the domains, you could pay £200 for a link.
Yeah.
So if you're paying 500 quid a month for SEO and you're competing against people that are making £2.5 profit per job, they get 4 jobs, 10 grand profit, let's say that's 2-3 grand marketing, you're never going to compete against them, especially in high ticket industries. And this is what a generalist SEO agency can do a pretty good job in a very sort of localized area for a certain type of business. But when you're dealing with an average order value of about £8,000, there's a lot more money involved and there's a lot more skill involved because of the money that's there. So yeah, you're competing against people that are willing to spend that money, that will get custom coded sites. So if you're not willing to stand out on that, you won't perform.
The thing is as well is like if you're spending £200 as an SEO agency on a backlink, which might work, right? And your competitors have potentially over 100. Like, how are you gonna compete with that?
There is no competition. Like I say, Google's algorithm does reward it. I mean, you sometimes see some people get lucky in an update, and they have enough trust signals on there, or they've got enough local content, or sometimes there can be someone that pivots it up. The YouTube SEO stuff can sustain people, but like I said, I think it all feeds into each other. So I think you need to be willing to invest. I think the site needs to be perfect. We sat down with someone, had a meeting with them. I think he was an electrical engineer. He had an electrical company in Bulgaria. He's paying €500 a month, obviously a lot less contract size, and then over here. And I sat down with him, and he was like, "Don, this guy knows SEO. Can you sit down with him?" And
it was a technical meeting.
Yeah, it might be a bit technical, and he ran through it, and then I did an audit of his site. I was like, "Well, this is a WordPress template." And I was like, "I wonder what your competitors doing. I bet they've got a custom coded site." And he did not believe me. He was going on and was talking for probably about 10 minutes straight. And I said it again, and then he pulled up the site, ran a bit of an audit on it, and found out that
it was custom coded.
It was a custom coded site, and he was using a WordPress template. And I was like, if you want to rank where they're at the moment, you are really limited in your infrastructure. So when you have a custom coded site, you have complete control over every aspect of that. Whereas WordPress, a lot of the code is the same for every site. So if you have a bunch of WordPress sites that are built on the same templates, the solar energy template or whatever, you're just sending to Google the exact same code base as 100 other websites, which is why that's the difference there.
Yeah, and that doesn't work when you're looking at building out hundreds of location pages and service pages that might have like unique content,
it works in industries,
planning considerations.
It works in industries where the average order value is £100, £200. It's fine. Fine local restaurants, local little ones like that. But when you're in a construction niche with an AOV of £8,000 with an average profit of £2,000, people are going to be spending a lot more money to hit that limit. I mean, investment banks are all over renewable energy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially the larger installers. It's not.
So this kind of like leads me on to something, because obviously like backlinks are super important then. Obviously, along with obviously having a custom coded site. What made you, like, obviously because a lot of the domains that you own are quite old now. They're like, well, I'd say old, but you set them up maybe 3 years ago.
Yeah.
What actually made you want to set those up? Because you've got commercial sites, so was it for lead gen or was it for actually backlinking clients?
It was for both. I'd been talking about it for a long, long time. I won't say any names, but there was an agency that a big size in the commercial space, not Etoto, were partnered with a different one that do commercial lead gen. I remember sitting down and talking to them about this idea I had for these domains. And I was going to build these sites, and I was going to rank them, and I was going to generate commercial business. And what's this guy on about? And so I was like, I sort of realised that I needed to go give a proof of concept and a proof of model before I did that. And then, we've got, I think, factories, farms, schools, churches, warehouses, so solar panels for factories.co.uk, farms.co.uk, warehouses. We got quite a few up, and within a few months, we started generating a few leads. And I was like, right, this is proof of concept and model to me now. I thought it would be a lot faster back then. And so I've sort of had these sites that we had a commercial contract, we had budget, didn't end up going the right way. Ended up being owed a lot in commission, but that was what it was. And then they died down a bit. And then the retainer side of the business, I sold a few more of those, so I had more to put into the commercial sites and started ranking them on my own. But the long-term vision was to generate commercial opportunities, to distribute them, and then to have sort of a fortress over the solar SEO space. Yeah. Because the thing is, anyone can go and implement the strategies that we do. Yeah. You can, if you're smart enough, you can download the site, get the code base, figure it out. What anyone can't do is buy the same domain as you. So if you have 130 domains covering everything from commercial solar finance, power purchase agreements,
Which
farms, factories, we have so many. We've just bought 40 recently. EPC, ESG, everything related to renewables, solar, EPC standards. And I also remember the announcement, and this was the thing that made me sort of spend too much money on domains, was that as of 2027, commercial properties start getting fined if they're not at least EPCP, which would mean solar and battery usually, probably heat pumps as well. So I was like, hang on a minute, in a few years, this is the position these sites are going to be, and this is going to be the value in the market. And so sort of when there's a gold rush, sell shovels. You know what I mean? If we've got the means of distribution, and the biggest problem in the solar market, especially commercial, is how competitive it is, then we have our pick of a litter. The best clients, people, we know we can go to certain clients. So B Solar, who were my first renewable energy client, they did a commercial install. They won the SIG Energy Award for it. I think it was 600 kilowatt battery storage. I think same with panels for a gentleman called John Davies, Welsh rugby player, and they have got him on camera. So I know if I get a lead in from a farm in Wales, I can send Scott round with that video of John Davies, who they grew up watching play rugby, and it's 100% close rate on all those farms. They've just closed one as of this morning. I got a phone call from him.
And that was a 1.4, 1.5?
It was, yeah, north of megawatt.
So that 1 megawatt install, that came from one of your sites?
Yeah, it came from solar panels for farms
So
about
that
2
came
months
from
ago.
solar panels for farms 2 months ago. How were they able to close that so quick? No, genuinely, because it's nuts to me, because a lot of installers, I mean, I suppose it's because it's farms, and it's also the proof of concept with like John Davies and all, like the farmers love
those ones, the dairy farms are more capex. So those dairy farms, especially the milking parlours, there's obviously a lot more money in beef and dairy than sheep or pigs or anything like that. So the milking parlours need battery storage as well for the overnight if the electricity goes off. So that's almost a necessity. So if you get a dairy farm, you know that it's probably going to be double the average value of another one.
Yeah.
And then the barns as well. The amount of roof space that you can maximise on a farm is crazy. And farmers, as much as I like to say that, a lot of them do have a bit of cash lying around, or really good finance rates.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that's changed as well, is every day I hear of a new power purchase agreement or a new finance thing, I'll get on with a client who's like, I just spoke to a guy and they've got this new finance deal, and I'll get on that. We're the only ones that offer this, and they're all offering the same thing.
Yeah.
And so you do get a lot of that on the finance side. I think the power purchase agreement's a good deal. You know what I mean? You get your system paid for, and your electricity bill gets cut in half straight away.
Yeah, it is. I've heard there's a lot of red tape with it, but
most installers aren't willing to deal with those.
Exactly.
This is the thing.
Exactly. But there's a lot of people setting up sort of PPA funds, and they don't really know what they're doing. But there's a lot of really good ones, which, and at the end of the day, for the actual owner of that commercial unit, whatever that might be, it is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And in a lot of cases, that can be the difference between their business going bust and not. Yeah. Because a lot of the energy bills are just stupid high.
Yeah.
So
we sometimes see schools come in that are paying 30 grand a month. You know what I mean? If they have heating,
you had one the other day, which was like, our energy bill was like, how much was it? It was like
100,000.
Yeah, it was 100K.
Yeah. I think that was across 6 buildings, but yeah. And this is the thing with commercial too, the referral network you get off the back of that. Yeah. I mean, that John Davies install, I think, led to 6 more installs, you know, just from the referral network. So the value of that organic SEO lead, if you can convert it, can be and utilised effectively too. Like I said, Scott, who's commercial director for B Solar, I've said so long, get him on camera, and then I went on the B Solar website and saw all the videos. So I was like, brilliant.
Yeah, nice.
And like I say, it's also depends on what the installers, how far they're willing to go. You know, a lot of people don't want to deal with schools because it's a lot of red tape and a lot of this. But if you take them through that whole process, they will probably go ahead with you.
Yeah,
so
it's just a slow burner, isn't it?
Yeah,
but it's delayed gratification. Like the work you do now might pay off in 2 years.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like a lot of the leads that are closing for B Solar, like you probably introduced to them like over a year ago.
Yeah, there's still jobs going on from like I said, that one was I think it's September 2 years ago, that John Davies one. Yeah. It was one of the first commercial leads we generated. So that was
So like is pretty much then like as well as the sites that you own that are generating like business through the sites, they're also a great sort of backlink for a lot of the clients.
Yeah, I mean, even in terms of the blog domains we own britishsolarpanels.co.uk. If Google sees a site like that linking, or 20 sites or 30 sites, and they're all solar websites linking to one local installer, No one else has a chance.
Yeah.
They don't have a chance, and that's for us because we're so niche and specialised in renewables. For us, no one else will have access to that. No one spent 3 years building these sites, and so for us, once we get a client site live, once we make sure it's safe, it can get indexed, everything's good. Because you also don't want to shoot too much at once, because that looks too spammy. So when we first take over a site, it's citations, so 200 citations, Yelp, Trust a Trader, social profiles, and then something called Google Stacks, which is just integrate their business profile.
Yeah.
And then once those are indexed and those pages are up, then we fire the backlinks off.
Yeah.
So it's usually from site build to first leads, anywhere from, I mean, we've seen it as early as week 1, but I'd say average is probably about week 2, week 3 from site going live in terms of indexing, leads coming in.
Yeah.
And then that process, it just tends to be sort of a snowball.
What do you say to because I speak to installers who, like, whenever they think about SEO, and we touched on it earlier, like they think it genuinely takes like 6 months. They do not conceive a reality where they can get the site live in 2 weeks, which, by the way, most web developers can build a site in 6 months that looks like a fraction of what we can do.
Yeah, they'll charge you 11 grand, take 6 months, and charge you 11 grand to finish it.
11 grand to finalise it. Like, it's actually crazy. But okay, so site live in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then leads coming in within month 1.
Yeah.
To a lot of installers, like, that sounds like you're almost like selling them a dream, right?
Yeah,
but
too good to be true.
Exactly.
How many times have we sat down and gone, too good to be true, too good to be true?
100%.
And then if they do try it out, they almost always find out that...
Would you? Yeah, well, they find out, they're like, look, these guys are... But would you put most of that down, obviously it's a blend, but you'd put most of that down to the domain network that you want?
I'd put almost, the speed, 100%. And like I said, there's no competition for that. There's not a network of installers large enough on an organic front where they could get enough backlinks.
Yeah.
Certainly not naturally and financially to get that sort of authority and relevance.
Well, this is the thing.
It's spending a lot of money.
It was funny. I told you about this in the car on the way up. So Naomi, my girlfriend, she watched the YouTube video I put out where I was like explaining the 90-day framework that we usually give to solar installers, and this is what we do. And she watched the video because she watches the video and she gives me feedback. Like, that's how we work. You know, she'll help me out. She watched the video and she was like, "Alex, you sure you're not giving away too much? Like, what about your competitors? Like, what about, like, they can copy what you're doing?" And I said, I explained what backlinks were to her, and she fully understood it. But I said, like, look, if someone tries to do what we've done now, right, they have to compete with the past 3 years of what we've done. And a new domain in Google's eyes, especially if you don't know what you're doing, like that's not a very strong backlink at all. Whereas the ones you've owned for 3 years, where they've actually generated that sort of authority and credibility, that's more important. So, like, this is why I think it's kind of a great situation to be in, because the competition, I mean, there is no that I've seen, there's no renewables SEO specialist.
Yeah.
Like, we're literally it. There's no one else.
Yeah, people try. People do it as like an add-on service.
Oh, I probably shouldn't say that.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, we've outranked Project Solar on a local site. We've outranked Geo Green across most of their commercial. They're ones that they were one for probably about 2 years. They're now number 3. We're number 1, and Solar Sense are number 2. You know, that's for factories, farms, commercial solar finance, commercial solar grants, power purchase agreements, restaurants, hotels. But you name it, we probably rank somewhere for it. And it's not just the primary keyword as well, it's also your locations. So even on the commercial, you can have, I don't know, solar panels for farms, Pembrokeshire. That Google might tell you that never gets any traffic. And then we put a location page up, and that one little page generates 3 leads in a month worth in excess of £4 million. So it's also just having that data to test and try it. And when you have 130 plus different domains to test and try that data, is eventually you're going to figure out the things that work on a much faster scale than anything else. If a Google update comes out and it affects one of your client sites and you don't have any other reference points of people in that sector or industry, what are you going to do? You know, you've got nothing to compare it to. You don't know what a top performing site looks like. Whereas if you've got 30 odd client sites, a bunch of your own sites, and even in saying that, what we do for clients, we do for ourselves to quite an extreme success for more than we'd make on the retainer model. So it's one of those things that they feed into each other very nicely. And like I said, the domains is a fortress.
Yeah.
And it is something that can be encroached upon. And because of the amount of time that's behind it, you know, you can have one big commercial installer that spends 5 years doing SEO and ranks for 100 keywords. And then I could go get 100 domains and take every single one of those keywords per domain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because those sites are so specialised, and at that point they don't have.
Yeah.
There's no
They
chance.
can't do anything at that point. Because this is the thing as well. It's like, you know, you've got, if you own the real estate at the top, because obviously a lot of people get confused as well. Like when I speak to people, you know, I say, getting you ranking at the top of the search results, right? But people, like, you know, you have those sponsored results at the top, which is where everyone runs the Google ads. But a lot of people will scroll past those.
Yeah,
like a lot of people.
And the people that click on, you're paying 50 quid from for and these.
Exactly. So they scroll past those results and they usually click on the first result they see, like below that, right?
Yeah.
That's what I do. If I want to buy something and I look it up, it kind of pisses me off a little bit when I see those sponsor results, because I'm like, I'm not actually looking for that.
Every time we sit down with an installer, it goes, "Do you ever click on?" No, I've never done that. I scroll straight past it.
Yeah, everyone does that.
And so yeah, it's like I said. I think SEO, the way they convert, even from the Google ads, you think they'd be the same leads, but then you think about the sort of person that click on an ad, and you go, "Hang on a minute, that's probably the meta lot." You know what I mean? We'll keep them over there. But the organic, and I think the informational keywords are important too. Because what people don't realise is they might want to rank for, I don't know, solar panels Manchester. What they don't realise is that one keyword is probably 50 different ones. You know, different products in Manchester, sizing, areas, postcodes, how the systems work, if there's any conservation areas, all the little villages and local things. And it's like when we sit down with people, Green Hat Renewables is a good example. They do more sort of full works construction, so re-roofing, insulation, heat pump, radiators, everything.
Like full,
So we know that we can go after keywords that specifically target those sort of jobs. If people are looking for full re-roofs, you know what I mean, you might as well get in with solar panels. If people are looking for EPC or those sort of things, we can put blogs out to catch those people. So even if people aren't looking directly for a solar panel installer, if they're looking for some sort of information related to that, that's then going to be given to them on the website that can then direct them to inquire. That's also a great way to generate leads. Yeah,
100%. Because this is the thing as well. Like when people think about their SEO, they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm ranking #1 in my area." It's like for one specific keyword.
For 1 mile down the road.
And it's like, but you don't just want to be ranking for solar installers in Tamworth. You want to be ranking for SIG Energy battery installers. You know, you want to be ranking for
and
Tesla
other
versus SIG
locations
Energy.
too.
Yeah, and
a lot of your cheaper SEOs, it's just that one little local place we do. When we do a campaign, it's 30-mile radius. So any one radius, I mean, the ALPS is a good example. For 30 mile, I think it's like 4 million people. You know, that's a lot of people to go after.
The thing is as well is like people, I think people attach themselves too much to the ranking anyway, because at the end of the day, like I could talk to someone about like, you know, how much business are you getting through your site? And then they say, oh, well, we're ranking. It's like, okay, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about how much business are you getting through your site, because, and it's quite sad actually, because some of these people as well, like because they click on their website and they like it and they have a look at it, they'll search for a keyword, but because they've been on their site before, it shows up at the top. They don't know that they need to go into an incognito or private tab to actually see their rankings. And at the end of the day, if they're only getting a couple leads through the site, that is when you can be doing more on your SEO. I mean, it's like you said earlier, like a lot of the like clients that we're working with and the sites that you own, like we're ranking above national companies like Project Solar. Like Midland Solar is a great example, and people think reviews are everything.
That was about month 3. They ranked a company with a couple thousand reviews, the largest national installer there is, and a guy from Birmingham who was doing eco grant work, who sold his first private domestic job for us, was now outranking him by month 3. You know what I mean? It's not. I mean, we ran that as an ad. People loved it all over LinkedIn. That's my most liked post, I think.
Yeah, it is. It's got about like 76. Like probably over 100,000 impressions.
People love that, but
it's because people think that reviews are everything.
Yeah.
You know, and when you show them that, it's like
it was 36 reviews against, like I said, I think it was
2,400.
Yeah.
It's 2,400 Project Solar.
36 reviews versus 2,400, and we outranked them.
100%. And Solar UK is another good example.
Yeah.
Because I know he sort of jumps about a lot, but I don't know what you've done recently, but he seems to be like pretty sticky there now.
Yeah, but, everyone's energy and
Chiltern Solar.
Yeah, and Chiltern Solar ranked #1 there for about 2 years until Ryan came along. So we're speaking
until you came along.
Well, it was all Ryan. It was him.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I say, the ones. It's hard as well to track in phases. I think past month 3, every single one of our clients sort of hits that 40, 50 form submissions. And then it's a case of sitting down with them and talking about growth. You know, but when you're spending $3,000 a month somewhere and you're returning 40, 50 grand a month net profit, you know what I mean? Like us convincing these installers to put the budget up, because on the onboardings, you go, right, when we do a good job for you, yeah, we'll do it, we'll up it, we'll up it. But then, you know, they try and maximise it because, like I said, I think the control aspect exists for them as well.
It's also scary. It's also scary. Growth is scary. Like, you have to think, like, I think a lot of people really want to stay comfortable. And a lot of people, obviously, yes, there's an element of installers want to maximise their reputation. So they don't want to take on more work that they can handle. But I actually think that in a lot of cases, that is an excuse to stay in your comfort zone. Because at the end of the day, if you, like, Midland Solar is a great example of this, because like you said earlier, he went, like, his Eco4 funding dried up. He went from literally nothing to month 3, 20 inquiries a week, getting, outranking Project Solar. But he hired
$250,000 in a year.
He hired exactly.
They did $250,000 in a year, and then now $250,000 a quarter.
In
all from
quarter.
organic SEO.
And this is the thing, like, he's hired a operations manager now. Who's helping him out. But like, this is the thing, I think installers like to stay comfortable. But at the end of the day, you can't do everything yourself. If you want to be that person who's doing 20 installs a month, you can't do that on your own. Yeah. You need to hire people to help you.
We just had this recently.
Well, yeah, no, exactly, because I kept hounding you, because I was like, man, like, our clients, like, they need website changes. And you were like, yeah, like, we'll get on it, like, all this sort of stuff. And it sort of like started heating up a bit when I was like, like, we need to sort it now. And then obviously that's when we brought Ryan on board.
Yeah. The problem is, and I said this to the clients as well, obviously website changes, it's sort of last priority. Not because we don't think they're important, but when it comes to your SEO, I want to spend as much time as possible per client site to make sure it's perfect. Yeah. So I was sitting down for 3 hours on a client site, and they were sending us, some of them sent us revision lists of 60 different bullet points to work through. And by the time you actually finish doing that, no SEO is getting done. So it's like, look, we're SEO Dons, that's our service offering. I was like, I'm sorry, guys, you're going to have to wait. But then the wait got a bit long.
It got a bit long, and they were like, yeah, we need to bring someone in.
Well, you called round.
Pains,
but the only complaint people had about our service was the website changes, which is incredible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's a good problem to have, but it then got to the point, it's like, right, we need to, 3 full-time sales staff, 1 on fulfillment. And I sort of, I need to take a step back, manage the company more effectively, and start delegating a little bit better, which is hard to do. Solopreneur for a very, very long time. It's only as of November that we've brought on full-time staff, and now there's 6 of us.
Yeah. It went from, because it was Andrew who you got on first.
Yeah, with the trial month.
With the trial month. And obviously Andrew, go-to-market engineer, his whole responsibility was, cool, let's try and build some systems, generate more leads. For me at that point, and for you, because you were doing fulfillment, but you also had the capacity to be more on the sales front as well.
Well, originally Andrew was cold calling. He was cold calling and setting appointments.
SDR,
but he worked at a company called MI5, and he always wanted to be a go-to-market engineer. And for months and months, he kept telling me about this go-to-market engineering, and we'll do this, and it'll do this. And, when we bring more people on these systems, I was like, all right, Andrew. And I sort of let him go ahead, and he built like a phone number enrichment, and he helped me out a lot during that trial month. He would stay up and do overtime to help the other 2 people that were on that trial.
Wow.
So he was the only one that did make it through that, but he really, really stood out. And so I was like, I'll give you a shot.
Hard worker, what I mean? He works hard.
And he didn't want to cold call anymore, so I was like, right, I like you. Let's sort of fit you into this GTM role.
Yeah.
And he's done a lot of that, and now we're looking at moving him into the SEO side of things and fulfillment.
Yeah. Which I think he's more than capable of doing.
Oh, definitely.
And like, this is the thing, it was Andrew, and then I think there was a bit of a tipped balance in favour of the sales for a little bit, which was obviously, like, you were still on fulfillment, Andrew, SDR, and then he went into...
It was also you selling so much as well. Not once did there. It was like 8 deals closed in a week. And I was sat there in Whitby in an Airbnb thinking, what the fuck am I going to
do? I was like, Don, good luck, and handed them off.
I used to go out for dinner for maybe about an hour and a half, and that was the only break I got. I would call my family at dinner like some sort of prisoner. And that's the only time I got away from my laptop. Other than that, I was, like I said, just sat in a fucking nice apartment in Whitby with a nice sea view, just cracking on until early hours of the morning.
Yeah, 100%. And then and obviously Tyler came on board, and then Lee, and then Ryan now, which is so like you know what I mean. We're sort of, I think it was tipping in the favour of sales, but now we've had to balance the fulfilment.
Yeah.
You know, which is the most important thing.
And to Andrew's credit as well, he's picked up a lot of slack.
Yeah, he has. He's doing really, really well.
He's sort of like my right hand man. He's in that
100%.
regard.
It's always like, the thing is as well is it's funny because if I don't know how to do something, or if I just need someone to vent to, I'm always like, Andrew.
He is. He's like I say, Andrew's very personable, and he helps people a lot. He needs to help himself a bit more. Like I say, he's a bit too generous with his time and his energy, I think. But he just wants to see everyone do well.
Like, he wants to do right by people. I mean, even like Midland, like he's literally was up until like stupid o'clock building out his CRM. Yeah. It's not like we charge more for that, you know what I mean? But he was like, I brought him on board. I'm going to keep him happy. Yeah. You know what? I love that sort of stuff.
And there's me, like, we're charging extra for this.
Yeah. And Andrew's like, nope.
It is, yeah, like I say, I mean, most of our clients, I'd say, are good. In terms of website changes or things changing, but the CRM seems to be one that everyone needs help with.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, like, we probably have to, I'd say, like, because we've seen Lewis from KMM, we've seen his CRM, and then we look at our CRM, and don't get me wrong, it definitely helps people, especially if, like, Midland Solar went from a whiteboard. Yeah. So, like, you have to understand, like, when people go to this system, yes, it's a bit new. Go High Level's quite user-friendly. I remember, but when they train up on it, it's like, cool, automated text, automated emails. You can't do that on a whiteboard. Yeah, you know what I mean? So it takes a bit of training, but, you know what I mean, there's still loads more that can be done with Go High Level, like, obviously, the systems that Lewis has implemented. But I think with SEO, it's a little bit of a different ballgame, isn't it? Because it's like, you know, when you're running meta ads or you're buying leads or whatever that is, it's like, okay, cool, the tap's on. Depending on how well your qualification's been set up, all the targeting, you might be generating like 100 plus leads a month. And, you know, a lot of people talk about cost per lead of like, oh, my cost per lead's £3. It's like, okay, but it basically means that you're flat out busy. You're probably not following a proper sales process, and you're probably not closing many of those people. Yeah. But let's say you've got a conservative cost per lead. I'm pretty sure right now in like the meta space, it's about £40 for like an average sort of solar lead. But when you turn the tap on, that's like 50, 60 leads a month. When you turn the tap on SEO, you don't get 50, 60 leads on the first month. But what you do get is maybe 10, maybe 15 really high quality inquiries that they speak to. They're real people who've spent time and intent on your site and they want to buy from you. This is why Tom from Solent, I know he's like still fairly early days in this grand scheme of things.
There's no one who sold this first system for us.
Yeah, I mean he was doing subcontracting before. I remember chatting to him. We ran an Instantly campaign, and he replied to the email. And the first time I called him, he was driving through Alton, which is obviously like close to me. And I was like, okay, happy days. And I chat to him, and he was mentioning that all of his work was done through subcontracting, and that's a lot of installers right now. They do most of their stuff like that, and they want to do their own private jobs because they take the work, they do most of it, and then they only get a fraction of the pie. You know, and
now control as well. A lot of how many times have we worked with people who've only ever it's like, oh, they won't let us take pictures, they won't let us say this is our work, even though it's their work.
Yeah, exactly.
So they've got a boss in that regard, and
but exactly.
When it's a control thing too, you know, it's if you can go from doing that to having your own firm, and say even if it's a lifestyle business, you know, if you sell 4 systems a month, it's you know, after taxes, it's a life-changing amount of money, and 100%. If you want to keep it going from there, you now have the profit to play with to do as you please.
100%.
And the people that do make that decision tend to keep it going.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of times, there's a few clients we've brought in who are local clients, and we have just absolutely smashed it out of the park for them. I mean, Andy from ALPS is a good example.
Do you remember when I spoke to Andy and I called you afterwards, and I was like, Don, this guy is going to be a flagship client. I called you and you looked at. I remember the phone call because I was in the office and you had a look at his company, 150 5-star reviews, good domain. You saw his YouTube. He was like, "Oh, mate, this is beyond ideal."
Yeah.
And I remember being on the phone, and it was a very sort of like heart to heart, like sort of consultative phone call, because I could hear in his voice that he had been burnt by so many other people. I mean, we had a phone call because he was like, I don't know what to do. But he was working with an SEO company for 3 years, didn't get anything from it.
And he
was also pitched loads of times on different sort of advertising channels. And I was like, look, to be honest with you, I think the best thing that you can do is focus on your organic SEO and try and get more of those high intent website inquiries. As soon as I said that, he almost let off like a sigh of relief. He was like, oh, finally someone who actually like listens to what I want rather than selling me something that they want me to buy.
Yeah.
And I remember that when we first got on the call with Andy and his wife Bella came along, and I remember like we were so confident. We gave him a full guarantee. We were like, ROI guarantee, 6 months, let us do what we do.
Easy peasy.
Month one, I mean, like I say, it went. How was it? How long was it to build the site? 2 weeks.
Week one, no, I remember week one they had about 13 submissions, but they weren't being sent through, if you remember. So there
I
was
don't
like,
actually remember that.
yeah, there was like, it's a sort of, and I went through and I looked, and it wasn't on our end, I don't think, but something they hadn't set up. So leads were going through, and then I think like week 2 it doubled, and week 3 it doubled.
Yeah.
And so I think they signed March. By
Yeah.
mid-April, I think they'd hit like 110 inquiries.
Because it's
in
not
that
just
month.
it wasn't just the website inquiries. When I connected up Go High Level to their phone number, that was after a month of working together, and they had in the first month over 100 phone calls, plus the website inquiries, plus the inbound emails that we can't track.
He sent the numbers over. It's like 1.3 million in pipeline in 3 months.
They've closed over 300
Yeah.
K right now.
For
which
a local family
for
business.
a local family run business. And the thing is as well is, like I say, like after being sort of burnt, it's not just okay, like the results are great, but I think it's also like who we are as people. Like we get on with them so well.
Yeah.
Like we get on with them so well.
Well, it's like I say, it's especially for Andy. It was an emotional decision for him. You know, he's
Yeah.
like, I went with you guys because I liked you, and he was really, I'd say, sort of skittish and unsure about this. And then once they started coming in, and the amount of voice messages for guys, this is brilliant, this is great. He used to go for his morning walk and would always send us a long voice message. And we were good. We were on it with him, and like I say, he's done really well. He's done well, and long may it continue.
Yeah, 100%. We get a video testimonial from him.
Yeah.
Get him on some more YouTube content. I think because he's so flat out right now, he wants to do more YouTube content because that's where he wants his time to go into. But right now he's training up apprentices. Obviously got like stupid amounts of surveys that he's sitting.
I think he's just moved into a new house as well.
Yeah.
He's not doing bad. Like I said, I met him for a pint in Whitby. That was sort of at the peak of the campaign. So it was nice. It's nice to meet clients in person as well.
Oh, mate, 100%.
I think when you're in digital services, a lot of people like to hide behind the screen. Whereas I've been saying to you recently, let's just go meet these people in person. Let's go sit down, speak with them face to face. So I think the value of that, especially to traders, in all of them working class background, worked hard, built their own business. A lot of them are very sort of personable, very straightforward people. And so I think being able to communicate with them in person, and like we did with the KMM, you know, they've got stories to tell, you know, these are good people to know. And if you can sit down and show that you're real and knowledgeable on, because most people are SEO, it's a bit of a buzzword, it's a bit of this and that. It is a buzzword. They've had it a few times before, but, you know, they think that's the end all and be all. They don't realise that there is a different aspect to this.
The thing is as well is it's like when you talk to an installer, maybe they're an electrician, or maybe they're a gas engineer, or whatever that might be. They've got over a decade worth of experience. Like they're absolute expert in their industry. It's like homeowners trust them, you know. But it's the same with SEO. It's like if you're speaking to someone,
no one finds them. That's the thing.
Exactly, but it's more of like in the sense of like the SEO. Like you've been doing this since you were 14.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds like I always say to installers, I know it sounds cheesy. Because a lot of people think...
I've still got the old Instagram page.
Exactly, but a lot of people think, like, oh, you can't have been doing much at 14. But, like, you were actually doing...
My first website was a finance blog called Faucet Works that used to rank for, like, bursaries, how to make money online, how to make money as a teenager. Because that's, for me, that was a big focus. I was always about money, always wanted to make a load of money. I always told my dad that, my mum that. So for me, it was going on the internet, sort of looking up how to make money online, realising there wasn't much for younger people. And I think I saw something that was like, you know, if you find a niche that needs servicing, you should do that. Perfect. So I started doing a bit of freelancing, writing about making money on freelancing sites. I never made much from it. Most was probably about $1,000 a month, but that was at about 15.
That's nuts though, 15 years old, making $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
Still a secondary school, mate,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, like I said, I went for a few things, year 9 and 10. I learned Lua, so I used to play this game called Gary's Modern Armour 3.
I used to play
Realised, like Minecraft or GTA 5, people have these servers and they make money from these servers. And so I ended up setting up my own server, worked stupid hours over the summer, started off with like 4 players, ended up with a community of about 800 people across 3 different servers. It's by about year 9, I was making very, very good money doing that. Got a bit bored of it, came off of that, back into SEO a little bit, then into e-commerce and dropshipping. And here's the thing is, for a while I had a bit of shiny object syndrome, but it was shiny object syndrome in the form of SEO. So like
Yeah,
most
yeah, yeah.
people, especially at that age, will jump between different courses and crypto and forex and drop shipping, and then you know what I mean. But whatever it is they're going to, whatever's the new shiny thing, there's a course being sold. I was lucky that everything I did was pretty consistent with SEO. So by the time it came for me getting to e-commerce and drop shipping, I was able to build up sites, scale them, get them to, I don't know, say if you 3 months history of doing £1,000 a month in revenue, you could turn around and sell that site for 5-10 grand. So if you can do 10 of those a month and then standard template sites, so I built up a reputation on a site called Flipper, did then starter templates, I could sell them for 400-500 quid a pop. So I knew if I could build 3 of those websites a day, rank the other ones on the back end, did all right from it, did okay. And then, yeah, like I said, post that was then web development Dons, so web development company, and then now obviously SEO Dons.
Yeah.
But it's always sort of followed the trend of SEO. It's one of those things that I'd get away from it and then I'd come straight back to it. And it was the original and the end.
You just know it better than anyone else.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, it's very interesting because the shiny object syndrome is such a real thing. But as you said, it's usually like, okay, do SEO here, that didn't work, I'm going to do something completely different in a different industry.
Yeah.
And then it's like this kind of like staircase, but it's like it just comes back down.
I mean, the amount of failed business, I had the clothing line that did well, that when, you know what I mean, the amount of different things that I've done that have all come back to SEO, that, like I say, you have to stick to one thing. And I think it's not, people jump from different, not just industries, but completely different services. Yeah. I mean, a lot of these course sellers, it was social media marketing, and then web development was like a big one. You could make 10 grand a month doing web development, and and then it was all lifestyle and this sort of thing. When you actually run a business that's doing the sort of numbers that these people lie about, the reality in the day-to-day is a lot different than people think. I'm not hanging out in Dubai smoking cigars doing this. I'm in a fucking Airbnb in Torquay with 6 people working till stupid o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, exactly.
And then that's what it takes to build a business like that. And I think not letting go of that either. I think if you can be consistent over that long, that eventually, you make your own luck.
But it's all flashy nowadays, isn't it? Like the reason why it's always Dubai smoking cigars is because they're selling courses.
Yeah,
so they paint a picture of what business is like, and it's not like that.
Yeah, it's also the easy aspect of what as well. The amount of people that they sort of ask me is like, what's the easiest way to? It's not easy.
Yeah.
Either inherit it or but that's it.
Yeah.
Inherit it or win the lottery. It doesn't work
exactly,
like that. Once you have a bit of money, it's not hard to keep accumulating if you invest correctly and you're smart with it. But if you want to make a lot of money, you have to find something that makes money, scale it up, do it at the highest level. And here's the thing as well, we talk to so many solar installers, I do expert workmanship, my installs are the neatest, and you look at the brilliant installs, better than many other people, but these people are doing 1 job a month. And the guy down the road, who he calls a cowboy, is doing 60 jobs a month. Because it's not the person that's the best at doing the thing, it's the person that gets the most attention. And that's why marketing and sales, especially in competition, is the path to go down.
Yeah.
And I think also sales and how you stand out as well is you need to look at what's in the area. When we do sort of an audit, if we know there's big national firms, Tom from Solent, his website is Tom Survey, Tom Sells, Tom Survey, Tom Designs, Tom Installs, or something like that.
Yeah, it's
and
exactly
people
like
love that.
Yeah, people.
You know what I mean? Because they know it's the fella down the road.
It's like trust signal.
Yeah, he's a tradie and he's trusted. He's not someone from
He's not going to palm it off to a subcontractor. He's not going to so he doesn't have a massive national installation team.
How many times have we had that subbies are selling installs and then just getting someone to come right off the MCS?
Yeah.
One of their mates or Tesla or this and that. And it's, you know what I mean? That's when you go cheap, that's what you pay for. Yeah. But when they show up and there's no scaffolding on your house and someone's on a ladder putting panels on, you know what you've paid for.
Yeah, no, 100%. And this is the thing, like I feel like it's also a lot bigger. I mean, Kieran from KMM, people ask him like, why are you coaching people how to sell solar? You have a solar company. And he says, and Lewis says the same thing, and it's actually quite a nice ideology. It's like, look, if I tell you how to follow a good process, keep customers happy, have good customer service, then the actual word of mouth and the sort of experience that homeowners have when they think about getting solar installed, that's going to be improved. More people are going to be asking for solar and everyone wins. But this is the thing, like we need more of that. And like, I think installers also have an obligation to, do the best that they can. Even the people that, you know, maybe they don't have the best sales and marketing processes, but they are great at installing. They have, I feel, like a bit of an obligation to put their name out there, do right by customers, you know, so that they can actually give the industry a good name. Because all the while you're talking about a cowboy that's poor at doing installs, they've got better sales and marketing processes, like you said, and they're getting the jobs.
Yeah.
And it's very much like a sort of, like, if you just do a bit more on that front, you can be obviously preventing that from happening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then, like I say, these are installers that if they're good at talking, they'll see quotes from other companies as well.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the sales angle they go for, especially for the larger ones, if they're cheaper, most of them also wouldn't have the sales training to sit there and go, well, look, this is a national firm, they subcontract this, that. A lot of them get their back up about, hey, oh, he's a cowboy, he's a this, that, and the other. No, if you want to go with them, go with them. If you want to get it done properly, where the guy who's just sold you it is going to be the guy signing off your MCS and not his mate from down the road who has his MCS from some company he bought. You know what I mean, you get what you pay for in that regard. And if you can communicate that on a website where the installer doesn't have to say it, and that's the difference too, when you're selling to Facebook ad leads, you have to follow a very, very specific process to do well. And plenty of companies do it, and they do really good from it. But with the SEO, we can almost direct people where we want them to go. You know, it's no matter where they come on from, we can send them through the site to upsell my battery, go to EV charges, you know, maybe look at maximising their system. We can write blogs about battery arbitrage and why you should have a battery or why you should do it in the winter. And just little things like that the installer doesn't have to answer these questions. When we sit down on bi-weeklies with clients, I always ask them, you know, is there any questions you've been asked, anything to put on the website, any content we can make about this, that and the other, because it's hard to understand as a business. You'll go through your site and you'll be proud of it, but for someone that's looking to spend 10 grand, they're going to scour every single word of that. They're going to go through all the blogs, they're going to watch all the videos, and if we can answer the questions and put them in the right direction where they have it in their mind that this is the best installer in their area, and that, yeah, they might be a bit more expensive, but this is what the other installers are doing, it saves them having to sell. Whereas if they come from other sources, that installer has to say all of that himself.
Yeah, that's why you call them money pages, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is what I say to clients, is like, look, yes, like, because people know that they need to have blogs, and then when they think of SEO, they think of blogs. But it's not just about someone being able, like, someone looking up a specific sort of, I don't know, educational type sort of inquiry where, like, I don't know, they're looking at SIG Energy versus Tesla, something like this. It's also when they go onto that page and actually inquire, the sales team are going to have a better job at closing that person. They're going to have less objections. They would be more educated. You know what I mean? It's.
I remember James from Carbon Legacy. They were working with an ads agency and us at the same time, and it was like, I just can't get the salespeople to call the ads late. It's like, as soon as those organic inquiries come in, the sales team just fly them. So it is, and like I said, some people think it's a placebo, and there's enough data in front of us to say that it's probably not. But it's the intent of the lead. Like I said, the difference between someone that's been served a Facebook ad whilst they're scrolling through Reels, you know what I mean, before they go to sleep, I'll put my details, versus someone that's sat in front of the computer, opened up Google, Bing, other search engines, and is then looking through that. The intent is completely different.
100%.
And like I said, that can be a guidance as well. It doesn't have to be like set information. That can be one blog that links into the next, or that comes from a location that then has relevant blogs to that location. So by the time they're finished, even on one location page, there's 5 different sources of reading material, all of which is engaging. And then if they go on the battery storage page and there's a video of the installer explaining the SIG Energy system, if they then go on to the products, the panels, or EV chargers, heat pumps, there's enough on there for them to get all the information they need before they inquire. So by the time the installer's spoken to them, they're where they need them to be.
100%.
And to actually implement that as a system on a site is a time-consuming task. And most people, like, if you're paying for 100 quid, 500 quid, £1,000 a month for SEO, you're not going to get that. You're going to get a few blogs a month, maybe a backlink, some citations, if you're lucky.
If you're lucky,
yeah. Whereas when you're specialist in something, we know what works pretty much in every area in the country because we've done it before. We do it for our own websites. And so it's a very sort of, I wouldn't say simple process because there's a lot behind it, but it's very easy to replicate that same level of success for each new business.
Because you have the knowledge and you've got the data in front of you. You know what I mean? I mean, on average, how many pages do you reckon that we build out for people? Because a lot of people are a lot of people are just used to having those templated sites. They've got 10 pages.
five pages. Yeah, we do about 150 standard. Blogs usually will have about 40 of them, locations about 60, services, about us, accreditations, finance, pretty much every sector of knowledge. So I'd say average is about 150. Some of like ALPS electrical is about 600.
Yeah.
So if you've got 100 locations and you're offering 3 different services, so let's say solar panels London, battery storage London, EV chargers London, and let's say heat pumps London. You know what I mean? And then you replicate that across 100 different locations.
And they're all communicating
times
with each
4
other.
services, and they're all interlinked with each other. And every one of those pages has 3 blogs alongside it. Obviously, that'd be on a higher price point, and the lead volume would be a lot different. But like I say, even at entry, we'd probably do about 30 location pages, 2 supporting blogs for each one.
Yeah.
And it's also a case of competition too. We know that most of our installers want to be doing higher average order value. So you go out to the villages, which have 500 people that no one's competing for, where the average house is 3 million quid. You know what I mean? Your average job round there is going to be a 40 grand solar job with 10 grand profit in it.
Yeah.
Probably more.
Yeah.
And so it's a case of understanding.
Why do you think people ignore that?
Well, I think, I don't know, I don't even know if they know about it, to be honest.
I mean, I'd agree, but it's almost like when people think about SEO, they always go for the regional keywords. They're always like, yeah, I want to be ranked 1 for Hampshire. I want to be ranked 1 but it's like a lot of the money's, like you said, is in those villages with a small population where no one's competing for it, so they get ranked there quickly. Solar UK is a good example, because although we've ranked him number 1 for Hertfordshire, he gets most of his inquiries through the location pages for the smaller towns and villages.
I think, has generated more than, and it's annoying too, because Google will tell you that those county keywords have 600 searches a month. You rank number 1 and you get, I don't know, 15 leads a month from that keyword. You think, hang on a minute, I've spent all this money to get on this one big keyword. Whereas if you did 5 medium-sized sort of areas and villages, you get, I don't know, per page 5 or 6 leads a month. They're all higher average order value. They're really local. You know, it's start night and day. So there are probably ego keywords, is what I'd say.
Ego keywords,
yeah,
I like
they're
that.
good to brag about.
Yeah, they're good to brag about.
They are good to brag about, but you'd find that a lot of your specialised individual location pages, blogs, are sort of your money makers.
Yeah. To be fair, I think that this probably leads us onto quite a nice thing, because whenever I explain the service, I always like to break down each and every component of what we do.
You translate it into English.
Yes, yeah, I try. I give it my best shot. I'm still learning.
You do a good job.
I like to think I do okay. But it's like I break down every component so that they can understand why we do things the way we do and what they're going to get from it. Because at the end of the day, there's so much technical language, but the installer wants to know that if what you're going to do is generating the business, that's all they want to know. But in a lot of cases, like being ranked number 1 on this area is great, but if they're not aware of the solution to their problem, which is, in order for me to get more business, I need to get ranked on page 1, then they wouldn't even think of SEO. Yeah. So it's like, whenever I translate it, I'm like, look, what we do gets you more business, and it always links to that. But I know in the background is like all of the technical stuff that we do gets them ranking here, and here, converts more traffic onto their page, custom coded site, which in turn gets them business. But I tend to, unless I go really technical and break it down, I usually kind of skip over that middle bit, because it's the same way in which an installer, if they're good at selling their product, they won't talk about how this specific product has their power cells manufactured in the same place as their, like, all of this sort of stuff.
It's so natural to them.
Yeah, they'll you know, if they're good at selling, they'll talk about how if you do this and you implement this strategy on an EV tariff and you charge the batteries and then you export and you know, if they explain that and they explain the ROI, that's how they get the deal. They don't get the deal by talking about how the Powerwall has a shading feature that, like, do you know what I mean? So yeah. I think it will be a good sort of opportunity, I think, to almost break down like a little bit of the components, sort of like one by one. When I usually sort of talk to people about this, I'm like, look, one of the first things that we do, and we've already spoken about backlinks and a custom coded site, but location pages. Like, what is a location page and what are the actual benefits of location pages?
So a location page is we call them money pages. It's a page specifically designed to generate leads in a local area. That can be anything from a county to a city to a small village. So we'll build a page out that, I don't know, let's say Harrogate, for example. So ALPS is about 40 miles away from Harrogate. We built them a page, Solar Panels Harrogate. It's talking about all the local restrictions, all the shading areas, what you can do, how long the DNO takes, all the different postcodes, different landmarks. We tried to do it about 2,500 words, unique content per one, because for a long time people were doing templated location ones, which was through, when we sat down with that gentleman, it was through a plugin on WordPress.
Yeah, WordPress.
So people, all the same content, Google release an update, spam, AI content, they all go. Whereas we had built ones where each individual one had run a research prompt, got about an hour's worth of research, and then built them out sort of per location. So we were absolutely fine because there's so much localized content there that's talking about the area that they rank well.
Yeah.
And then obviously the intended effect of that with the backlinks and with the right content on there, if someone types in solar panels Harrogate, now that ALPS page shows up. So people in Harrogate, wealthy area, really nice area, large value installs, they're going on there. I think that page generates 7-8 leads a month, and that's one location page out of, probably 100.
Yeah, and then service pages as well is usually one that I like to talk about.
Service pages, yeah, it's those ones you can go for a larger area. So if you're going for sort of more county solar panel installation, you can do it for the county. Like I say, it depends on the strategy. I think locations and blogs are best to bring people in. Services is best to convert people.
So service pages being solar panels, EV,
solar panel installation,
battery storage, different products.
Or different sectors too. If you're doing commercial, solar panels for farms, solar panels for factories, as individual pages on the website. So just something for people to click through and read, and that's more on the conversion and sales aspect. That's more about guiding them down the right path. But you can do it on the locations too. I mean, you don't have to sort of word spam it. If you build the pages properly, they can go on, read about it. There'll be a section for batteries, and there'll be, more blogs on batteries. There'll be a section for conservation areas. How do conservation areas work? What are my local restrictions? And then if it's more of an in-depth strategy, that'll be localized to that area. Obviously, we wouldn't do 3 blogs for every tiny little town, because if you push too much to Google as well, you're not going to get it indexed. You can't go tomorrow and make 2,000 pages and expect they'll all do well. It's that it would dilute the power of the site. So what we do really is go for a small localized area and build out from there. And then even clients that are on for, sort of 3-4 months who are already getting between sort of 60 and 80 leads a month, that is still only a potential of about 20% of their top ranking keywords. And so it's a case of rejigging the strategy, having a look at it, and monitoring it, and sort of distributing power among that. It's not just a case of building it. It's like I say, sometimes Google will roll out an update and decide that, I think heat pumps was one, but the grants that it was really easy to rank, and then it wasn't. It was more based on trust signals, and then that strategy can change in terms of other performance, locations. I'm rambling on there.
I mean, how do you stay ahead of Google updates? Like, how do you forecast? If you can, obviously, I know you can't tell the future, right? But it's almost like every single time there seems to be an update, I always ask you, and you're like, "Oh, mate, I sorted that 6 months ago."
Yeah.
How? You know what I mean? Because that's the difference between you outranking a lot of the competition right now.
Yeah, so I wish I could sit here and say that I've never had a site be burnt. I think people try to do crazy things and send loads of backlinks and loads of sites and just try and spam it and not. Google gives you guidelines of how to do things. It tells you about its algorithm. It links quite a lot as well pre-update. So it's just a case of making good websites, custom coded sites for real businesses that are trusted, local. It has all the trust signals. It has content that's genuinely helpful to the reader, because that's what Google's function is. It's what their purpose is to give the best content to the reader. How do you feel about since transitioning to sales director? Do you enjoy taking on that responsibility? Do you prefer the closing? Sometimes wish you could go back to where you were just closing and you didn't have to worry about fulfillment or ownership in the business, or do you like that responsibility?
This is everything that I have actually wanted for a long time, like without a doubt. Like it's stressful and it can be stressful, but when I actually stand there and I'm like, you know what, this is stressful, but then I remember this is what I want and this is what I have to go through. It reminds me that I'm in the right place, because you can't become successful and grow a business without being stressed and handling issues. Like, you've seen it yourself. It's like everything's going good until it's not, and then you have to sort something out.
What is the drive behind that? In terms of taking on that, to be where you want to be, where do you want to be?
I mean, it's a good question, but at the end of the day, like, I want to retire my dad. That's been something I've wanted to do for ages. He's still a plumber, and he's like 69 years old. He's underneath sinks, working on wash hand basins, toilets, and he's like, you know what I mean? He's old, he's got back problems, and he doesn't make that much. And it's like he's still, you know, sort of doing all of that hard labour and not really getting much from it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you can't keep doing that, you know? So that's my main drive, but it's not just for him, it's for the rest of my family as well. And the people around me, like that's ultimately what drives me. But then again, like I probably haven't done enough reflection on it. You know what I mean? I think when you're as busy as you are, you don't really take the time always to reflect on why you do things. You just do them.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean?
Months later, you'll be sat there going, oh, I did that. That was fucking hell, yeah.
I literally feel like recently it's been 100 miles per hour, which is good. But do you know what I mean? It's kind of hard to sometimes to look back and like reflect on things and be like, that's why I was doing that. You know, it's just like you do it, you crack on. And it's always the end goal of just growing and, you know,
I think it's the financial responsibility too. I think with what we do is so unique, and the amount of money involved for most people is unfathomable.
Yeah.
You know, they think you're scamming people, or they think it's going that way. So if you can be that one person where you've got that drive behind you and then you stick to it and take care of the people around you, all worth it in the end. Even if you can't see them all the time.
No, 100%. But to be fair, I think we've spoken about like a lot of stuff now. Like we've been through quite a lot. We should probably do something like this more often.
We should.
Maybe come back to Torquay, find a different balcony somewhere.
We'll find a bigger house as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Shall upgrade.
Yeah, that's it.
Nice
Happy days, mate. Until the next one, eh?
All right.